Welcome into the 49ers Report by Chat Sports. Chase Senior here with you. No matter where you are or how you're watching or listening, thank you so much for making the 49ers Report a part of your day. Now, I said watching and listening. That's because right now, after our YouTube and Rumble show just wrapped up, we went live for another podcast on CallIn, which is like Twitter Spaces, but even better. You have the opportunity to call into the show like a sports talk radio show. And after every single one of our YouTube and Rumble shows go on, we actually go live on CallIn. So make sure you download the app on your iPhone or Android device by going to chatsports.com/49ers callin. When the preseason comes and the regular season comes, these rooms, they are going to be on and popping. Really on today's show, just want to recap what happened on day 2 of 49ers training camp and go through the biggest news items, notes, and analysis from day 2 of practice from Santa Clara. So after a very good day 1, Trey Lance did struggle on day 2. Wasn't a good practice for him. Some media members said it was one of the more sloppy practices that they had seen from Trey Lance. And a big reason for that, he completed less than 50% of his passes. 7 of 15 on the day, did throw an interception. His first one in these 2 first practices, picked off by Jimmie Ward, who, let's be real, is a veteran who can take advantage of a young player who's one of the best safeties in the NFL. Got a nice little Madden grade at 87 as he was due proper respect. With the way that he's been playing over the last couple of years, Lance also sacked a couple of times, but I don't want anybody to really overreact to Lance struggling on day 2 of practice as he's taking over the reins of being a starting quarterback for the first time. One, he's inexperienced. We know that. But also keep in mind, no Deebo Samuel as he continues to do drills off to the side as his hold-in continues, as these negotiations continue. We'll talk about Deebo coming up in a few moments. And then there's this patchwork offensive line against a loaded, and I mean absolutely loaded, 49ers defensive line that could be the best, or if not the best, one of the best defensive lines in the NFL. So everything is kind of catered right now to the defensive side of the football. Also, no pads yet. So you can't really utilize Kyle Shanahan's strength in this outside zone scheme, which is the running game. So Lance really does not have as much to work with at his disposal. As for that offensive line, the first team unit, Colton McKivitz, Aaron Banks, Daniel Brunskill, Jake Brendel splitting reps at center, Spencer Burford at right guard, Jalen Moore at right tackle. Now on day 1, Lance was good, and we talked about it on the 49ers Report, in control during 11-on-11s, 5 of 7 passing in team drills. I think he was 10 of 11 for the practice day in total. Picked up a nice little gain off a quarterback boot. Quarterback mobility, something this offense did not have with Garoppolo. Completed a bunch of short and intermediate passes and was accurate, which I think is really important for him. And he didn't chuck it deep, but that's okay because Lance needs to lock down the simple things within this offense and for his respective game. Another takeaway from day 2 of practice. Charvarius Ward continues to look stellar, and it looks as though the investment that the Niners made on him in free agency looks to be a good one. He has continued to play good football ever since signing that deal. He was really good in OTA'S, and in fact, so good during OTA'S, the coaches told him, Charvarius, we don't need you to practice in minicamp because we know what you can bring to the table. Has not allowed a catch, the last 2 practices, and in the first 2 practices, $14 million per year for a potential number 1 cornerback. That's really good value, and I said it at the time. All the analytics backed up Charvarius Ward being a very, very good player and an ascending player and a guy who was coming into his own and had his best football ahead of him. Looks as though that's going to be the case. Why it's also exciting that Ward is playing well is because Emmanuel Mosley was locked down on day 1 of practice. And in 2021, he was really underrated, folks. No touchdowns allowed in coverage. 11 pass breakups on 74 targets, 495 coverage snaps in total, and 33 receiving yards. So this secondary, on top of the fact that this Niners defensive line is going to get so much pressure, not allowing quarterbacks a lot of time to throw the football, it's going to allow this secondary to eat. Now, which position group on this 49ers team are you most excited about? Is it defensive line? If that's the case, let me know in the comment section. If not, give me a different position group right now. quick on this, Richard Sherman, I'm not sure if he was at practice at the SAP Performance Center, but he did say this about this Niners secondary. And Ward, by the way, probably the Niners' best corner since 2019 when Richard Sherman was still at the top of his game. Sherman tweeted this out. Before the season is over, there's going to be a lot of chatter about this Niners secondary being amongst the best in football. Mark it down. Ward, Mosley are a problem. Jimmie Ward has been playing at a Pro Bowl level for years, and look for Talanoa Hufanga to shine. So this secondary, something to be excited about. Nick Bosa, all over the place, coming off that 15.5 sack season. He could be even better this year. I mean, he was better in year three, because he missed much of year 2 because of that ACL than he was in year 1. And by the way, in case you missed it, what's the deal with this contract? John Lynch did say he expects negotiations to take place next year. Difference in contracts between him and Deebo. Deebo doesn't have a 5th year, so this is the final year of his rookie deal. Because Nick Bosa was a first-round pick, he's guaranteed about $18 million in 2023. More catching up to do on the Jimmy Garoppolo, Deebo Samuel front. This coming from Matt Mayoko, NBC Sports Bay Area. Trey Lance actually has spoken with Jimmy Garoppolo this week, Tuesday and Wednesday. Garoppolo's been in the building, isn't practicing. Lance said, it is what it is. It's nothing weird at all between us. He adds that Garoppolo was gracious throughout last year, his rookie campaign. He could have made things hell for me. He didn't. On Deebo Samuel now, Matt Mayoko also with this, continues to condition on the side while the Niners and his reps work toward a new contract. Jimmy Garoppolo taking part in his throwing routine and physical therapy. There is no plan for him to practice as the Niners await a trade offer for his services. Mike McGlinchey did practice today. Looking pretty slight, definitely needs to add some weight. My best guess, he was looking at like 305 pounds. That's kind of small for a right tackle in this league. Lance, not the only quarterback to struggle in day 2. So too did Nate Sudfeld, 12 of 14 with an interception. Brock Purdy, 4 of 6 with 2 INTs. So every quarterback on this roster threw a pick, but it's not like Garoppolo didn't throw picks last year. He threw a lot of them throughout training camp. Charvarius Ward, as I said, continues to be the top player. Along the offensive line, you might have questions as to why the unit is as barren as it is. No Trent Williams for the second straight day. He attends to a family matter. Jake Brendel, Daniel Brunskill alternated at center with the first team. Spencer Burford continued to get the first team snaps at right guard. And Jason Poe, undrafted free agent out of Mercer, getting some time there at right guard with that second and third team unit. And then lastly, defensive lineman Eric Armstead was held out of practice today. D'Amico Ryans did not disclose why Armstead did not partake in practice. So that really does it for everything that kind of went down and happened on day 2 of training camp. We're going to continue to keep you updated right here on the 49ers Report. Are you excited about the Niners now that football is officially here? If that's the case, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. I also want to tell people on CallIn to start getting ready. We're about to start taking calls, and this video is going to go on YouTube after our CallIn segment wraps up as we're doing this live podcast. So I'm looking at the caller queue. David, Evan, Draco, Treasure, Owen, as well as Hanif. Get ready because I'm about to start taking your calls right now. So officially, I'm going to make David the first caller live on the 49ers Report by Chat Sports. Make sure you unmute yourself, my guy. By now, you know how to do that on the app. You've joined us every single week. Greatly appreciate your support. I see you unmuted yourself. Tee away, and what do you got for me?
Hey, what's up, man? How you doing?
Good to hear from you, man. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I just want to know, is the team looking good in the training camp? Are they looking good, or how they looking?
Yeah, so day 1, Trey Lance looked pretty solid. He looked in control of the offense and displayed accuracy on his short and intermediate throws, which I think is important for him. We know that this guy has stupid talent. He needs to prove that he can do the simple things, and he can convert on the layup. So good day 1 for him. Day 2, a little bit rocky. But what's also exciting is that this 49ers defense, which has a loaded, deep, and very, very talented defensive line, continues to wreak havoc. Now, you have to understand they're going up against an offensive line unit right now that is a little bit subpar. But this defense, with that linebacking core being one of the best in the NFL and the defensive line being among the best in the league, has an opportunity to be a very special unit here in 2022. Going to take another call here. My guy Evan is next up on the docket. Welcome on to the 49ers Report, Evan. Make sure you unmute yourself so that you can join the program, and let me know what you got for me, Evan.
Hey, can you hear me?
I got you. What's up, brother?
Not much. Okay, I've been thinking about this for a while, but in my opinion, I think, Jordan Willis will have a breakout season. I think he'll have at least 12 sacks.
Okay, yeah, that's an interesting take, Evan, and I'm going to go through these calls rapid fire just for our YouTube segment. So I'm going to mute you real quick, and then you can call in later to the show. Jordan Willis is a potential breakout candidate for the Niners. Now, his career got off to a little bit of a weird start. Then San Francisco traded for him at the trade deadline back a couple of years ago. He certainly showed some flashes, and then the start last year fell under the radar because he was suspended for a couple of games because of performance enhancers. But when he was on the field, he started to find a groove and give this Niners team some pretty good defensive line reps. And of course, he's the one in the divisional round of the NFL playoffs who came through on special teams, blocking that punt as the snow was falling at the cathedral of professional football at Lambeau Field, helping to lift San Francisco to the NFC Championship game. That's why he has a great opportunity to not only make this roster, Evan, but to also play a pretty big role. We know that DeMeco Ryans wants to keep his defensive linemen fresh. He's going to be able to do that because of this position group and unit being multiple guys deep. And for Jordan Willis, he can play a little bit of outside. He can play inside. He can play special teams as well. So for you to say that he can have a breakout campaign, I think he can as well. Now, a breakout campaign for him, probably 5 sacks. But 5 sacks for a rotational defensive lineman is pretty damn good at the end of the day. Next up on the show, my guy Draco tuned in from Las Vegas. I know people are tuned into the Niners Report from all across the globe. Draco, make sure you unmute yourself. You're live on the 49ers Report. What's good, my homie?
I'm not too loud, am I? I'm in a casino, Vegas.
Hey, he's at a casino in Vegas, even better. What's the scene out there? Give us the report.
Hey, it's a lot of nothing right now. Everybody should be at work.
A little bit earlier. Yeah, a little bit too early.
Yeah. But I'm not worried about any other position than offensive line. Everywhere seems pretty stacked and have good news. I just really hope that we get this offensive line together because, honestly, after quarterback, that must be the most important position because who will protect the quarterback for him to throw the ball? And, yeah, we just need that set if we want to try to go anywhere. Thank you.
Draco with a great take on this offensive line, and I couldn't agree anymore. You look at this entire roster. This is a 49ers team that is geared and ready to make a run at a deep playoff run or at the Super Bowl. And if you canvass this roster, offensive line, by far and away, is the most thin position group on this team. Now, you can talk about quarterback, but you only carry 3 on the 53-man roster, sometimes only 2. So I'm going to exclude quarterback. Offensive line is the least deep position group on this team. And there are question marks across the board outside of Trent Williams. Trent Williams has been voted as one of the most dominant players in the NFL, actually the number 2 guy behind Aaron Donald. And last year, the highest ranked player in the NFL, according to Pro Football Focus. You know you're going to be good with him. 99 Madden rating, that's great. At left guard, is it going to be Aaron Banks, who last year only played 1 game and kind of struggled throughout the preseason? Now, last year he played right guard. He's going to the position that he played much more of at Notre Dame in left guard, where he had more success, but he's a question mark nonetheless. At center so far up to this point, it's been Jake Brendel and Daniel Brunskill splitting reps at center. Is it going to get to a point where you have to bring in Jake Brendel, J.C. Treader? If the offensive line continues to struggle, then yeah, you might have to resort to that. And if J.C. Treader gets scooped up, the offensive line options at center, very, very thin. And this is really important to lock down offensive line, like Draco said, given the inexperience of Trey Lance. You don't want him getting injured, 1, and you don't want his confidence to go down in the tubes. So you look across this offensive line, even at right guard. Is it going to be Brunskill? Right now it's Spencer Burford, a 4th-round pick out of UTSA, who's getting the starting reps. And Mike McGlinchey not really playing at right tackle because he's coming off that torn quad. So there are health concerns with him. Couldn't agree more that offensive line is a little bit of a concern. Treasure, going to make you the next caller here on CallIn and on YouTube. What do you have for me on the 49ers Report?
Well, first of all, good evening, Chase.
Good to hear from you again.
I'm really hyped about the 49ers season. I am really positive about Trey Lance,
Okay.
and he's going to do good things for us. And I'm just really hoping that everything shakes out the way we want it to be honest with you. I mean, with the questionable O-line that we have, hopefully the rest of the team can take some of the stress off of that.
Yeah, no, I agree. Look, you make some good points, and you kind of hit on some things that we talked about a little bit earlier. Appreciate the call, Treasure. Everybody, ideally, wants everything to work out well, and everybody wants the Niners to stay healthy and win games. I think this year, obviously, everybody wants them to getting on that winning trajectory. But last year, if you remember, something happened at the start of the year that I don't think can transpire this year, and that's the Niners getting off to a slow start. There's a middle portion of the schedule where San Francisco has to take on Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, Justin Herbert. That's a really difficult stretch. I don't care where you're playing those games at. You start week 1 against the Chicago Bears. It is of the utmost importance that you come out of Chi-Town with a victory and you get off to a fast start this year to build yourself that cushion and that comfort zone so that you don't have to rally late in the year and finish the year 7 and what? They started 3-5, 7-2. You can't afford to do that with a young quarterback because he'll start to feel the pressure, and as a young guy, you don't want him feeling that, and you just mentally don't want to exhaust yourself with having to basically go undefeated the last couple of months of the season and then dealing with that up and down approach of you lose that Titans game on Thursday Night Football. It's like, shoot, if you won that, you were going to lock down a playoff spot. Then you had to rely on different teams to help you out in Week 18, and you had to come back from a 17-0 deficit in the final week of the regular season, Week 18 against the Rams. Like, don't put yourself in that position. That's what's really important for this team. And Treasure, that's how I build off what you had to say. Before we sign off on our YouTube portion of this show, how many games do you think the Niners are going to win in 2022? Let me know in the comment section. Get those predictions in.